What's up, dudes? My name is Nick. Welcome back for another one of my Sunday discussion videos. Today, or this week, we're going to be talking about, well, I'm going to be sharing my definition exactly of what I view makes a group in K-pop successful versus not successful. And I think that this is actually something that is, well, I didn't know this specifically, but has my MixNine and The Unit video kind of spurred a little discussion in there about whether or not those groups were successful or not, because I was saying that most of those groups were actually successful. As far as who I was referencing, it's like my whole head scratching thing where I don't understand why these successful groups are participating in The Unit and MixNine. And you know, I just want to share what I view as successful, because there was somebody who posted a comment in there that said that they're not successful groups and they don't view success as, you know, being able to release music for 7 years and then disbanding when you know, after 7 years. And I get that. You know, so I just kind of want to like take that into consideration and explain what I think is a successful thing for a group. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to pretend that I debut my own group. Like, I'm a CEO of a K-pop company. We're going to debut a boy group and a girl group. Why not? We'll just do two because we're rich. And they're all going to have the same, you know, career trajectory, and it's going to be successful. So, or, you know, moderately successful. I should say, no, because, you know, there's one thing we're not to kind of start this off as to what's going to happen here is I'm going to debut a group, right, as the CEO of a company, and they're going to be successful. They're not going to be massively successful. They're not going to be superstar level successful, because I personally don't think that it is a very, very good way and a very good reason to get started doing anything. Like, whether that is that you want to start, you want to make all kinds of money in K-pop, whether you're starting a group or you're an idol, or you shouldn't start making YouTube videos if you just want to be YouTube famous. You have to have a realistic expectation, you know, of what's going to happen. So it's definitely 100% good, right, to say like, we're going to be the next, you know, we're going to be the next girls generation. We're going to be the next EXO. We're going to be the next, you know, Super Junior. We're going to be the next, you know, top group, legendary K-pop group, you know, that comes out. It's 100% fine to do that, because you also, I think you do have to have very, very lofty goals in order to actually like continue working super, super hard to get to those points. Because if you set small goals, if you set goals that are easily achievable, that you don't have to work that hard to get, then you will never actually achieve the maximum that you could possibly achieve. You're just going to continue taking incremental, small, teeny tiny steps forwards. Whereas if you set big goals, you could be taking massive leaps forward as you put down the work to do that stuff. So that's one thing that I think, you know, everyone needs to kind of keep in perspective of, or that I think that a lot of K-pop companies don't necessarily kind of take that perspective when they put out their groups or all that stuff. It feels very, very much like a lot of these companies are releasing music with the hope that they're going to that it's going to click and they're going to make money, and they're going to, because they're trying to cash in on the growth of the K-pop genre or the K-pop industry over the last 5 years or so, the last decade, even if you really want to stretch it. So it's something that I think a mentality there that needs to change, because it was highlighted in the comments that kind of, you know, inspired this whole idea. So they were talking about about how it's a really, really big step to go from a Nugu group to a superstar. And yeah, it is a really big step to go from the group where everyone says who to a group that is a superstar group. It's like going from being a rookie quarterback in the NFL to being a Hall of Famer. You know, it's a big, big, big step, and it doesn't happen instantaneously, right? So in reference to my confusion to like what I was talking about with the Unit and MixNine, a lot of those groups, in my opinion, are successful. So my personal group that I debuted, right, they're going to go out, and over the course of their 7-year-long contract, however long it is going to be, they're going to release music. They're going to release 2 music videos, like a mini album and a full-length album, you know, alternatively, you know, every single year. They're going to get 2 comebacks a year, right, for 7 whole years. I think that's successful, right? If a group can manage to do that, bring in enough money that makes it worth the company's time to continue investing time and money into developing and creating product for that group to sell or promote in the form of their music and their albums, then that's successful. And if you can't do that, if you debut once a year, even if you can debut once a year every, for the length of your contract, and then you disband, I think that's successful too. Because the reason is that as it stands right now, the K-pop industry, with all of the groups that we know of and that we don't actually know of, it's super, super, super congested. So there's a lot of competition for a very, very small amount of attention, because K-pop honestly isn't that big of a phenomenon within the world or even Korea. It's definitely something that has a lot of people's attention, but it's something that people pay attention to, but don't necessarily buy so much. It's very similar to how pop music is in the world, where you got whoever who's performing the halftime show at the Super Bowl, but most of the people that are watching the Super Bowl are not buying whoever that person's albums are when they release. They're not buying their music. They're not fans of the person who's performing the Super Bowl halftime show. It just is the way that pop music kind of functions, where they're aware and they've got the attention of the entire nation, but most of those people don't actually care to support that artist or that musician in any way. So just kind of realize that K-pop is there's a tiny, or there's a much smaller sort of segment of the population that really, really deeply cares enough about K-pop to spend their money on it. And there's a lot of groups competing for that small amount of attention. And, similar to just the music scene in the world today, being able to earn an income and a living is successful. Now, you're not going to be going selling out, stadiums. Most K-pop groups aren't going to be selling out the Tokyo Dome in Japan, or going on North American tours, or even they might not even have a live performance in their entire career. It's definitely possible that might happen, but they are consistently releasing music and generating money, and also getting a little bit of income for themselves as well. So that, I think, is just, it defines success. So in the context of my group that I just debuted, in theory, right? So we debut. Our debut song, it's okay. It's not the best. We're not topping the charts. We're not hitting the Billboard Hot 100 or anything like that. We're doing okay. It's enough money, enough income to essentially break even, maybe make a couple dollars of profit for the company, right? That's good. So we're gonna invest. Because we've recouped our losses. We've basically broken even. We didn't lose any money on that, and so we're gonna go back. We're gonna reinvest that a little bit. We're gonna take a look, strategize, analyze what we're gonna do for the next step of the group, and we're gonna release another song within the next 6 to 8 months. And we're gonna go on a cycle of releasing something every 6 to 8 months, whether that's a single, a mini album, or a full-length album. We're gonna do that, and that's gonna be successful because chances are, unless we absolutely just screw up with the planning of our music and picking a good song, chances are we're not going to fail horribly. Maybe we won't make as much as we have in other times, but it's going to be pretty consistent. The key is to actually kind of keep generating revenue where you at least break even, or you just do or make a profit even. And that's what I see as successful. Now, the other part of what this original person had said as to what is successful is that a group's not successful until the members get paid. And I can see that, I understand that, but the K-pop idols, which maybe from a smaller company or from a smaller group who's not the most popular, maybe they're not going to be getting all of these opportunities for commercial deals and other sources of income. That's definitely, I think a fair assessment of, what is success and what is not success. But like I said, I wouldn't necessarily agree that getting paid makes you successful. Of course, it means that now you're making, income. You've paid off all your training debt, so now you're making it like an actual substantial amount of income off of that. But, at the same time, even though you got your first paycheck, you could disband the next day, right? So that doesn't necessarily mean that you're successful, which is what defines success in my mind, right? Is being ever present in the music scene, releasing stuff every, year or twice a year or something like that. Like, if I'm going to look at a group that I wouldn't necessarily consider to be successful, who people probably know, is I probably wouldn't necessarily consider the girl group Playback, who just had her comeback just recently. I wouldn't necessarily consider them to be successful in a sense, not yet at least. They've had it's been 2 years, I think, or maybe a year since their debut song, or I think they started out pretty strong with. I think they released actually 2 years. I'm completely. I'll admit right now that I don't exactly know their timeline, but I don't necessarily think that Playback in and of themselves is a super successful group. Certainly, I don't think that they're on the verge of dying anytime soon, but they're not necessarily successful. In comparison, Dreamcatcher, who's released 3 songs so far this year, they're successful to a certain extent. Now, I don't know exactly what's going to happen with their next comeback or what the plan was with that. I have no idea. So maybe they're not successful if they don't actually make a comeback at the end of within the next 365 days. That's still waiting to be seen. This group, Labum, who has members participating in one of these shows, they're successful. They've released 2 songs every single year since they've debuted, right? That's successful. They've been pretty consistent. Not to mention the, admittedly shady way that they actually won a music show award, which people think is really, really important to have, and it's a really big achievement, and also is a definition or something that people use to measure the success of a group. Like, they sold those albums to get that success, right? So you look at that, and you have to go into it, or you just kind of look at it within the context of the fact that 99.9% of the groups are not going to be successful in the sense that they are going to be at the pinnacle of K-pop. And 100% of the groups that don't come out of either YG, JYP, or SM Entertainment, none of those groups are none of the groups that come out of smaller companies like that are guaranteed in any way to be at the top. Like, those companies are guaranteed that their groups are going to be right near the top, right? BTS worked really, really hard, and Big Hit has done a really fantastic amount of work and some really, really good work to actually to increase BTS's stature within K-pop. But there is the kind of disconnect that international fans have with Korea, where BTS is super, super popular all over the world, but they've never necessarily been the most popular group in Korea, right? So, despite the fact that as an American fan looking at BTS and looking at the K-pop scene, we look at BTS and I'm like, wow, BTS is super, super successful. They're doing really, really well in K-pop, which is true because, the market for K-pop is global, right? But if you look at it within Korea, they're not at the top, or they were not at the top, I should say, for a good majority of their career, from what a lot of people have said. So you just kind of have to realize and look at it with the mindset of the entire industry as a whole, where small companies with little funds like Big Hit Entertainment or whoever is responsible for GFriend, who's really, really popular right now, they're not likely to reach the status of like Twice or Blackpink or who else is big right now that's like stealing everyone's hearts. I can't specifically name anyone else off the top of my head, but like GFriend and GFriend not likely to really seriously compete with Twice, and it just is sort of down to the fact of the company that they came for and just the nature of the whole industry. So I guess just to wrap this all up, what I define as success as a successful K-pop group is a K-pop group that's able to consistently release music for their company, and also, of course, earn money that, makes it worth the company's time to continue caring that this group exists. So, that means that, one or two releases a year, and just in general to break even on their releases. That's successful because most musicians, most bands all over the world lose money on the time and the energy that they spend to create the music that they create. If you can break even making music, then that's successful. Most people don't. Most people have another job. So that's what I define as success when it comes to K-pop. So of course, the entire reason why we do these videos is to kind of share my thoughts and all that stuff and perspective on a certain topic that's a little bit outside of talking about K-pop music itself or Korean music itself, and to of course hear what you guys have got to say on that topic. So now that you've heard what I had to say, my point of view and all that, so then now share what you guys think down below. So of course the question is, what is your definition of a successful great K-pop group? Do you agree with me that 2 releases or 1 release a year is a definition of success, basically breaking even on your career, or is success something completely different to you? Very interested to hear what you guys have got to say. Hopefully we can get some good discussion going down in the comment box below. We're trying to build this community here, of course, it's like free and open to whatever your opinion is, and hopefully you're interested in hearing more of that kind of stuff and participating and discussing Korean music down in the, as a part of our community. So if you want to join that community, of course, then please do click on the subscribe button down below. And I just want to finish this video off by with the reminder that the topic for next week is ultimately going to be decided by people who support me over on Patreon. I've got a list that I've got, working of topics that I personally want to talk about, but we're going to leave the ultimate decision, the final decision, to the people over on Patreon. So it's just a way for the people who care enough to support the channel in that way to be a little bit more connected. So if you don't want to do that, that's perfectly fine. I have got nothing to say about that, but it's only for the people who are particularly invested in this channel and the content that I upload. So that's going to be it. If you want my Patreon stuff, by the way, down in the comments below, or not in the comments, there's a link down in the description box below. So that's going to be it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys learned something cool or got an awesome perspective on something. So thank you everyone for watching, and I will see you guys coming up in a new video, or of course for my next Sunday discussion video. So thanks everyone for watching, and I will see you all next time.